Well, I've got more baits than I can count, and this is a really fun pond. It's not very pressured. Some people like to fish it, but today's challenge, I want to see if I can catch a fish on each bait that I own. Every single bait. Let's see what we can do. My name is Carter, and you're watching Outdoor Science. All right, first up, classic wacky worm, ready to go. Snagged on something, but I have no idea what it could be. Oh, fish took me into the weeds. All right, fish number one, bait number one down. Classic wacky worm, successful. All right, next up, we're going with a drop shot in this huge curly tail worm. I want to try to throw this before I've caught too many fish and kind of spooked everything off, because this is pretty intense for this type of pond. This is also a really weedy pond, so I went ahead and Texas rigged this, just made it a little bit more weedless, but I think my weight's gonna get really stuck. So let's just give it a try. All right, I'm just getting so snagged up in the weeds. I think I'm gonna go try this bait in another spot. I know most of the fish are gonna be around here, but I really wanna catch something on this, so I'm gonna go a little bit deeper and see if I can avoid the weeds a little bit. There we go, there we go. Nice fish. There we go. Fish number two, bait number two, drop shot was successful. All I had to do was go to a little bit deeper water. There we go. All right, let's go tie on something else. All right, now we've got a white and chartreuse soft plastic swim bait with a little bit of a belly. First cast. Okay, second cast. There we go. Fish on, fish on. Good one. There we go. All right, the white and chartreuse soft plastic swim bait was a success. We got another fish. Let's tie something else on. All right, this one might be a little tricky. We might need to try a couple spots, but I want to get this one marked off. We're gonna go with a jig. Now, I might count a few different types of jigs, maybe 2 or 3. But let's start with this. This is more of a bluegill type color with kind of a small trailer on it. So who knows? I think that this is gonna be really hard to catch something on because of how much grass is out here. There we go, fish on, fish on. There we go, yes. It's a small one, but it counts. Tiny little bass. I think this is like a 1/2 ounce jig, and this tiny little guy, smallest bass I've ever caught here, swallowed that. All right, we can check the jig off the list. Let's tie something else on. All right, we're gonna go with a smaller soft plastic swim bait. Very different profile and color to the last one I used. Immediately, first cast with the bait. Immediate hit. Another tiny little guy, but we're gonna count it. All right, tiny bass, like tiny little sparkly swim baits. Let's get another bait. All right, I've got 4 rods rigged up with 4 new baits, and I'm gonna go to a new area on the pond so I can give this area a little bit of time to cool down. and I just want to try something else because I caught a lot of fish here just now. All right, the next bait that I'm using is this little lizard right here, more of a creature style bait. I've gone ahead and weightless Texas rigged it, or weedless, whatever, and I'm just gonna drag this through the deep part of the pond and see what happens. All right, I'm gonna tell you what's going on right now. I had this lizard on weightless because I don't want it to get stuck in all of the weeds, but I'm in 15 feet of water, so it's not really sinking down. It's pretty windy, so the wind is catching my line and dragging my lizard before it can get to the bottom. So I'm gonna have to put this one up until I get to some shallower water, and I'm gonna try another bait. Okay, we're gonna go with another drop shot, this time more of a shaky head robo worm, kind of black and brown colored. Well, in an extremely unforeseen turn of events, a fish just stole my shaky head. Never had that happen before. All right, moving on to another jig. This is more of a craw style jig. Fish on, fish on, fish on the jig. There we go. It's a nice one. It's a nice one. Oh, get out of the weeds. There we go. All right, there we go. We got nice fish on the cross style jig. Let's use another bait. All right, we're moving into a totally new style. We've got a small black and green spinner bait now. Let's see what we can do. I'm actually very surprised I haven't gotten anything on this black and green little spinner. This is one of my confidence lures. I've caught probably more fish on this bait than anything else in my bag. So I'm gonna go to a different spot. It doesn't matter how good the bait is. If there's no fish where you're fishing, you're not gonna catch anything. It's in the weeds. Oh. Came off. Dang it. There we go. Fish on. Fish on. Good fish. Come here. Good fish. Really good fish on the spinner bait. Finally, that took a while. That took a lot longer than I expected. There we go. Fish on the spinner bait. It's another bait down. Let's get another one on. All right, we're gonna go shallow now because I still want to get something on this lizard, but I need to go where the lizard's actually gonna be on the ground. All right, it's a little more shallow on this bank, but there's a lot more weeds. So hopefully this weedless lizard's gonna work well over here. You need to relax, calm down, and keep working your bait nice and slow. Heck, fish on. There we go. My line jumped off my spool and this fish was on. Biggest bass of the day. All right, it's all messed up, but my lizard caught this fish, and that's another bait checked off the list. Let's go get another one. That was the wildest thing. I felt some taps and I was letting the fish take my lizard right here, and I went to set the hook, but my line jumped off my spool, so it didn't connect. It didn't really hook up. So I reeled in real fast, and luckily the fish was still there and it just took off. But there you go. That's what you got to do. If you want to use a certain bait and you're not getting any bites, you have to change locations and think about what's in that location. For something weightless and weedless, I can go somewhere kind of weedy, but I need it to be shallow because it's windy and that wind was taking my line with it and not allowing my bait to sink. All right, I want some redemption on my shaky head drop shot because a fish stole it last time. So let's see if we can get anything on this. First cast. Immediately I'm feeling something on it. I'm feeling some taps. go. All right, there's a fish on the magenta chartreuse shaky head drop shot. Let's keep going and get some more. All right, we're heading into the portion that's gonna make or break this challenge. I'm gonna start using baits that I've never caught fish with here at this pond. And some of these baits, I've never even caught a single fish on it anywhere. All right, classic chatterbait. Let's see if this will catch anything. Nice fish, really nice fish on the chatterbait. Nice, there we go. All right, nice fish on the chatterbait. That's another bait down. Let's keep fishing, use some more baits, see what else we can catch. All right, this is gonna be really tricky today. I've got a Texas rigged worm right here. This is a Yamamoto peanut butter and jelly 5-inch, and this is gonna be rough. I think the fish are gonna like it, but it's gonna be hard to put it in front of them. Let's see what we can do. There we go. Oh, dang it. There's something just 5 feet off the dock. Someone order a salad? All right, I think we're gonna have to try a new spot with this one. Let's see if we can get something else out here on this area. All right, this one's gonna be tough. I've got this Rapala jointed bait right here. I think it's gonna get hung up quite a bit, so let's see what we can do. There we go. Go. Oh, this poor guy is all cattywampus. All right, fish like the old Rapala jointed thing. That was the 3rd cast. All right, let's keep going. All right, we got this sunfish crankbait now. This is gonna be really tough because with that Rapala, I could kind of retrieve and pause and it would float up past the weeds. This one will still float, but it dives a little bit deeper. So I think I'm gonna get caught up quite a bit with this. Let's fish, there we go. Really light hit, and I got one. Oh, came off, what? Oh. There we go, got one on finally. Oh, this is a big fish. There we go. I can't believe that. He jumped off right as I was about to flip him in. All right, next up is a chartreuse buzzbait. All right, so far no interest in the buzzbait. I'm gonna swap over to this TRD Tickler Ned rig and see if I can catch anything. If I can't catch anything on this, I'm gonna move spots and take all 4 rigs somewhere else to try to catch some fish. There we go, fish on, I think. Nope. Caught a salad again. All right, I'm gonna move around a little bit because this is just not the greatest spot for the baits that I'm using right now. All right, we're in a new spot and I'm gonna start off with the pumpkin seed sunfish thing crankbait. All right, the crankbait got a couple hits, but nothing stuck. So I'm gonna swap over to something else for this spot before we keep moving. PB&J worm, let's go. Oh, my camera cut out as soon as I got this guy. I was just reeling in my worm to recast, and this guy smoked it. So it's all messed up now, but that was a Texas rigged Yamato peanut butter and jelly 5-inch worm on a fish. Let's see what other baits can catch some things. Let's go back to the Ned. All right, we gotta try somewhere else because these 3 baits aren't getting any action over here. I think I have to go really shallow now. All right, I'm in a shallower area of the pond, so I'm gonna throw the buzzbait first and move on to my other baits, but I'm gonna keep going around the corner and up towards those geese because that's where the shallowest part of the entire pond is. Whoa! Whoa! Huge fish. Huge fish on the topwater buzzbait. Whoa! There we go. Wow, that's a nice fish. All right, there we go. Checking the buzzbait off the list. That was amazing. That was a huge topwater blow up. That's a nice bass right there. All right, move on to another bait. There we go. Fish on. Fish on. Good fish. Yo. Landed him. Finally. Pumpkin seed crankbait. Caught a fish. Oh my gosh. That took a long time. That was really awesome. All we got left on this batch is this little guy right here. Let's go a little bit shallower to see if we can get this one to stick something. There we go. There we go. Something on the Ned rig. Something on the Ned rig. Come here. Come on. There we go. Nice bass. There we go. Finally. All right. We got something on the Ned rig. Woo! That took a long time. All right. Let's get some more baits tied on. All right. I have 4 new rigs tied up. And up to this point, I've only been catching bass. So I tied on this rooster tail right here because I want to target some bluegill. There's some really nice sized bluegill in this pond and I want to give it a go. Now remember, if I catch a bass on this, I still have to change. So I'll have to change over to a bait to target bluegill again. Let's see if we can get a nice dinner plate bluegill right now. Wow, a huge bass came up and sideswiped this. And I had a bluegill way over on the bank. I just need something to hook up. Oh, I think that's a bluegill. I think that's a bluegill. There we go. That was exactly what I'm looking for. Nice big bluegill on the rooster tail spinnerbait. There we go. All right, now that that's checked off, as well as the spinnerbait rooster tail thing, I'm gonna move on to some more difficult baits that I think it's gonna be pretty hard to catch something on. All right, so we're at the tail end of summer. Fall is right around the corner, so I think catching something on this frog is gonna be pretty difficult, but let's give it a try. I'm just gonna cast up along the banks, and I might have to go where all the geese are down there, and I really don't want to have to do that. So let's see what we can do. All right, I think this is going to be pretty tough too. Maybe not as tough as the frog, just because of how easy it is to get hooked up on one of these. But we've got a whopper plopper on deck now. All right, let's see what we can do. All right, I'm surrounded by geese, but I want to get something on this frog in the shallowest part of this pond. Let's see what we can do. All right, let's see if we can connect on the whopper plopper. There we go. There we go. Yes. On the plopper. There we go. Successful fish on the whopper plopper. It's a good bass. He just exploded on that. All right, I really have to get something on that frog, don't I? All right, I'm gonna have to put the frog down. I'm just not getting anywhere with it. Not really getting any bites. Nothing's going after it, so I need to move on to some other baits. All right, I want to catch another big bluegill, so let's go with the chartreuse rooster tail, a true rooster tail this time. There we go, there we go. Boom. There we go. There's a nice bluegill on the rooster tail. All right, there we go. Nice little bluegill on the rooster tail. All right, this bait is definitely gonna be a challenge in this pond. Got a jerk bait. All right, well, the jerk bait and the frog were the two things that stumped me. Couldn't catch anything on those, but I caught a fish on every other style of bait that I have. I didn't go through all the color variations. Other than that, I was pretty successful. This is a pile of baits that I caught fish on today. One per fish. I do have more, but they're all the same style, just different colors and sizes. Today was a really successful day. And hey, if you enjoyed that one, don't forget to subscribe. I post a new video every Friday at 7 p.m. Central. If you enjoyed this one, go ahead and like it and share it with someone else who might enjoy it. Thanks for watching.